Hello, welcome back to teleSUR English. We continue broadcasting live the arrival of the President of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, to Venezuela as he was received there by the top officials. As we know, this is the first time Ebrahim Raisi leaves his country for Latin America, and he kickstarts this tour as the head of state of Iran in Venezuela. This is the first time he comes to Latin America as the head of state of the Persian country since his assumption of office in 2021. As we know, he was received there by Ivan Gil, who is the foreign minister of Venezuela and who is also the top diplomat in the government of Venezuela. In this case, the president of Iran is received by a National Guard representation, the official guard of Venezuela's army, and also he was received there by top diplomats of this South American nation. Venezuela and Iran are going to enhance with this visit their bilateral ties, their common relations, their common ideals, the foundations for trade and for energy exploitation. Let's remember that both countries have been sustaining and suffering sanctions, international sanctions from the U.S. and by the Western powers in matters of energy and oil exploitation, but their bilateral cooperation is a way out of these sanctions and is a way out of these unilateral sanctions and ways of imposing their will. In this case, Venezuela and Iran are going to enhance cooperation in other fields. It's expected to sign bilateral agreements in agriculture, in culture, also in education, in health, and to bolster their bilateral ties. This visit of the Iranian head of state corresponds and falls in line with a prior visit of the Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros to his nation, to Iran, last year in June, where he was there to pay an official visit not only to Iran, but also to other Eurasian nations. That's to say Russia, that's to say Turkey, and a special visit to Algeria. In this case, who is returning the visit and coming back and coming to Latin America is the President of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, who is there to enhance these bilateral ties. Also, this agenda of the Iranian president is including Cuba and Nicaragua as the other further stops of his Latin American tour. And before boarding the plane to Venezuela, he revealed that his administration advocates cementing ties with the Latin American nations. Raisi considered relations with Latin American countries as strategic and stated that this visit will mean a turning point in deepening of her ties. In addition to the political and economic relations with Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba, Iran has also had good cooperation with these countries in various fields, such as energy. Raisi is accompanied by a high-level delegation made up of the ministers of foreign affairs, his defense and oil ministers, and also the health minister. And this is one of the main points of this visit, and not only to enhance energy cooperation and oil exploitation agreements, but also to enhance ties in other fields such as education, agriculture, culture, and health. One of the main points taking into account that Iran and Venezuela had to find self-made and self-propelled and domestic solutions to several health issues such as the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic they suffered as the world suffered too in 2020 and 2021, as they had to make efforts and invest and use domestic grown vaccines like Cuba's COVID vaccine and other drugs to combat this virus. So health is one of the main topics in their agenda and the main topics in their common interests. During his visit to Caracas, Havana, and Managua, the Iranian president will sign several cooperation agreements and will hold meetings with business persons. This will be his first trip to Latin America since he assumed the presidency in 2021. Upon his arrival in Venezuela, Raisi will be received by the Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros in the headquarters of the government of Caracas, and he also will visit some sites, several sites and venues of historical and political interest in Venezuela. Let's recall, let's announce also that Raisi is expected to visit La Casa Amarilla, the seat of the foreign ministry in Venezuela. The nation is receiving him in that venue, and also he is expected to visit the Miraflores Palace, that is the seat of the executive of Venezuela, the seat of the presidency of Venezuela. In this case, we can see the First Lady of Iran, who is also received by a delegation of top female politicians and female officers in Venezuela. We are attending to this visit of the Iran president, also Iran's top delegation to South America, in this case to Venezuela, and they will be moving on to Nicaragua and Cuba afterwards. But today, in this minute, the president of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, just arrived in Venezuela and will be paying an official visit and a busy agenda regarding bilateral ties and enhancing cooperation between these two countries that have been sustaining the sanctions of the West, the imposition of hegemonic policies by the U.S., and also difficulties and liabilities to their development. This cooperation is aiming to health, is aiming also in culture, agriculture, education, and oil exploitation. We will have further details regarding the agenda and the development of this official visit. Please stay with us.